Now I invite Dr. Akbar Shah, General Secretary and also founder member SAI India, who joined us online to brief about the fourth annual conference of SAI.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So very good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, I can continue. Can you bring me to full screen?
Yeah. Yes, yes. Yes, we can see you now. Little bit, can you arrange some light source on your face?
So very good afternoon. It's indeed a very personal privilege to be taking part and addressing the um, audience present and audience who are attending to the online version of this great conference. My very pleasant good evening to good afternoon to all of you. I should very particularly mention about Dr. Professor Goyal, the Vice Chancellor of the Delhi Pharmaceutical Sciences and Research University, Dr. Chandra Gowda Patil, the Professor of Pharmacology at this university, and the colleagues in the various departments of this university. My dear President, Dr. O.K. Gupta, the Vice Presidents, Dr. Raisuddin and Dr. Vijay Pal Singh, the Joint Secretaries, Dr. The Vice Presidents, the Joint Secretaries, the Treasurer, and all my friends in the Executive Committee, all those who are attending this conference. It's my very pleasant privilege to be greeting you on this very pleasant occasion. I'm extremely happy that the fourth conference of this society is hosted by the Delhi Pharmaceutical Sciences and Research University, and being spearheaded by my good friend, long-time acquaintance, Dr. Chandra Gowda Patil, the Professor of Pharmacology, taking up the responsibility of being the organizing convener and taking up the full responsibility, shouldering the big responsibility of conducting this wonderful conference. Well, Dr. Raisuddin, our Vice President, has given a very good narrative of the background and the profile of the Society for Alternatives to Animal Experiments, India. There are a few things which would fill the gaps. To bridge the gaps, I will start with the international scenario of the three R's, the replacement, reduction, and refinement concept of the great visionaries, and starting off from the 3R concept in 1959. Great many things have been happening in the scenario of animal use in the various contexts of teaching, research, experimentation, testing, drug discovery, and whatnot, even in vaccine development. So great many changes were taking place since 1959. And particularly rapid strides were made in many countries in the European Union, the United Kingdom, the Germany, France, the Netherlands, Italy, Praha, and many other countries in the European Union. And on the other side of the thing, you have the United States of America, and Canada also is catching up in the recent times. And Far East, we had Japan putting a lot of effort towards emphasizing alternative methods or non-animal methods in various aspects of experimentation, research, and teaching. So when these things were happening across the globe, in India, almost parallelly, activities were initiated. But in the early days, as you all know, the animal care, animal concern was essentially in the hands of the non-government organizations or the voluntary organizations like People for Animals, the PETA, the Humane Society International, and a few other small organizations. They were spearheading the movement of animal concern. You don't call them really alternatives, but more about animal rights and animal care. And in course of time, slowly, it was realized that a lot of animals are used in education, in research and testing, and in drug discovery. These domains attracted the attention of these voluntary organizations, and they started giving attention to things happening in these avenues of scenarios of animal use. And at that time, they needed people from the academics. The R&D organizations realized the importance of academics who would speak to the stakeholders about the non-animal methods, rather than the animal rights organizations emphasizing that concept. So that is how many of us, like me, Professor Krishan Sharma, Professor Satyanarayana, and a few others, Vijay Pal Singh, we got into the animal alternatives movement in India, essentially independent of the things happening around the globe. And slowly, it so happened that because some of the research and teaching community got into this activity, supporting the voluntary organizations, we thought we should all work together, the academic community and we should work together to emphasize the alternative movement in this country. So it is by this time, I had an invitation from Doran Gamst-Bindon Foundation in Switzerland, who had realized the great use of the extensive use of animals in the various domains of experimentation. So the organization, the Doran Gamst-Bindon Foundation, invited me to establish a center for alternatives for the whole country and to place it in the Bharatdasan University, from where I was retiring from regular service at that time in 2008. So that's how dramatic changes were taking place. NGO was taking care of it. And then an organization from Europe supporting establishment of a society, establishment of a center in India. The objective of that center was to propagate the message of alternatives across the country in education institutions, in research institutes, in industry, and so on and so forth. So this center, the Mahatma Gandhi Doran Gamst Center, was requested to take care of the curtailment of animal use in these various domains, right? So that is how I got into this scenario, and I started the activity, and we went. I had a small team of people who supported the Mahatma Gandhi Doran Gamst Center in this endeavor. So we went about meeting people across the country, and slowly the momentum was gaining, and we did great many things. And many of the friends who are in this society are those whom we met during these visits, and so we have. This project, the Mahatma Gandhi Doran Gamst Center, was meant to be spreading the message of alternatives, to sensitize the people about the alternative methods, and more importantly, is conduct training workshops in the Bharatdasan University Center and elsewhere in many places across the country. Train people to change to alternative methods. So training was considered a crucial aspect of it. Thus, we had the Mahatma Gandhi Doran Gamst Center, and the tenure of the center was going to be over. At that time, we worked with the University Grants Commission, which was willing to take over this center as a national facility, which Professor Vaisuddin mentioned. And it was also realized that over and above the center, the national center, we need to have a society, because it is the society which, over and above sensitizing the people and carrying out spreading the message of alternatives, we could also knock at the doors of regulatory authorities, like for example, DCGI, the ICMR, the Department of Biotechnology, the Department of Environment and Forests, and the regulatory authorities. motivate them, request them to regulatorily introduce alternative methods which are already introduced in other countries and encourage research towards alternative methods. So that's we thought we have a society, and that is how the Society for Alternatives to Animal Experiments that came into existence. And we of course we initiated activity in 2018. But the society was regularized through registration in 2019. So we had a conference 2018, 2019, 2020, and so we now come to the current conference, which is 2021. So when it was, first was offline, we could meet. The second was offline, we could meet in Mumbai. And the third, of course, we were caught in the clutches of the COVID-19. So we had to go by online mode. And that being the first experience, it was not much of an excitement in 2020. But over the next 1 year, many things were happening through the online mode. Virtual conferences have been gaining momentum. So we thought among the senior people in the society, we thought the time is not right for us to go for offline meeting, in-person meeting, so we go for online. And looking for the person who will conduct it, well, the lot fell on Dr. Chandra Gowda Patil, the professor of pharmacology. Dr. Patil is known to me personally for well over a decade. We used to meet in many high-profile conferences. He is the person who has been propagating the concept of alternatives among the students of pharmacology and pharmacy, right? He was working at that time in the College of Pharmacy. So he was doing this at the Pharmacy College in as much as I was doing it I and a few others were doing it in the Arts and Science, Basic Sciences University. So Dr. Patil is known to me for well over a decade. So he moved into Delhi, to the Delhi Pharmaceutical Sciences Research University. So we took advantage of that, and we requested him to conduct this conference. And we are really very happy that we have a very proactive professor, a scientist as Vice Chancellor of this particular university. So when Professor Patil put across the thoughts to the Vice Chancellor, so the Vice Chancellor was really very happy and very, very proactive. And he encouraged Dr. Patil to have the conference done there. We over the period of the organizing of the conference, we had 2 online advisory committee meetings, in both of which Dr. Vice Chancellor participated and motivated us, and he offered to have a small online platform also, offline platform also, so that this conference would be considered as we're going on the dual mode, offline and online. So wonderfully, we have just over the period of 4 years, starting in 2018 to 2021, the society has made very rapid strides, and we have association even today with the voluntary organizations, the People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, Humane Society International in India, and we have also the patronage coming from many international societies. Like, for example, we have the Japanese Society for Alternate Animal Experiments, with whom we have a memorandum of understanding. We have our Japanese colleagues participating in all meetings starting 2018. This time also they are participating, and they have this time they have 2 companies, 2 industry representatives going to share with us their experiences of finding newer alternatives and producing replacement alternatives. So international patronage is there. We have Korean Society for Alternatives supporting us. The American Society for Cellular Computational Toxicology is supporting us. The USAT, European Society for Alternatives to Animal Testing. I can go on listing like, no, I don't have any slide. So this is all sharing my experiences with people who are present in person and those who are listening to me. It has been a very pleasant experience for me, taking this, establishing this society with the help of all my good friends who are members of the society and many who are yet to become. And it has been a very, very, very pleasant pleasant and satisfactory experience to have moved the alternative scenario to the forefront in India. So it was not an entity 10, 15 years back, and it has become one of the very serious topics and subjects. And the trend we have started finding contributing to alternatives, like we have many of our members are contributing to newer alternatives. I can make mention of like Suresh Kosala, Ankush Bio in Hyderabad, Dr. Subramania Wangala, who is also associated with Yajin, another company. We have Dr. Mohanan, who is from Sri Chitri Tarunal Institute. I mean, these and many more are associated with the most recent direction of alternative, the organ on chip, right? And organ on chip, organoid on chip. India is also contributing to these trends, and I thank my colleagues whom I mentioned. They and very many are participating in the research in these areas. So I have taken you through a passage of history of establishment of the alternatives at 3 Rs from Russell and Brett in 1959 to what is happening globally in the form of organ on chip, which has become very popular and to take place with the regulatory recognition. And in India also, we have been making very rapid strides. So having said what has been happening around us in India, I can't have much more time than this. I should very particularly thank the Vice Chancellor of the host university and Dr. Patil for the effort and shouldering the responsibility. And we have been, I said, we have been very strongly supported by people from industry. I mentioned a few of the industries like Unilever, like J Research Foundation, Angush Bio. That's the kind of support we're getting. I mentioned about voluntary organizations, PETA India, people for in the Humane Society International, and very particular mention should be made about the kind of a collaboration which has come up with the FP Skin, the reconstructed human epidermis people who are a subsidiary to L'Oreal. We have gone into very good, very wonderful association and collaboration. And interestingly, over and above about a dozen workshops which the FP people, particularly Christian Belwisen, has participated and conducted in India in association with the MGDC, with the National Center, and then our society. He has gone a step further to contribute an amount of 1,000 euros to award best oral and best poster presentations in the annual conferences of this society. And in this conference also, they have agreed to give the money, and we are expecting the money to come. We don't wait for the money to reach. We will award the prize, and the money will be reimbursed. So it has been very pleasant, happy, and fast going. And when these things were going very fast, a certain thing happened, and that was the sudden demise of a very good person in Dr. Dipti Kapoor. She was representing the people for ethical treatment of animals in our society as an executive committee member. PETA is an organizational member of our society. J Research Foundation is an industry member of our society. So PETA nominee, Dr. Dipti Kapoor, very unexpectedly at the age of 39, she passed away through maybe cardiac arrest, and we miss her. And there was a sudden spurt of activity. Our colleagues coming up to say that they will contribute towards establishment of Dipti and Kapoor endowment. So we have the endowment established, and we have with us Dr. Angita Pandey, who took over the place of Dipti Kapoor in our society as the PETA nominee in the executive committee. She's there in the offline in the inaugural session. So I would now, having said briefly about the the progress made and the present conference. I would now take leave of my friends and ask Dr. Ankita Ponte to share her points about the establishment of the Deepti Kapoor Endowment Fund. And having said this, I thank you, thank the Vice Chancellor, thank Dr. Patil, thank all of you for your wonderful opportunity and wonderful hearing. Now we will listen to Dr. Ankita Ponte. Ankita Ponte, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akbar Shah, and good evening to Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Goyal, President Dr. Y.K. Gupta, Vice President Dr. Raisuddin and Dr. Vijaypal Singh, General Secretary Dr. Akbar Shah, to the organizing committee, and to everybody who is attending this inauguration ceremony offline and online. So it's indeed a pleasure to be here and address this audience today. And I would like to take a little bit of moment to talk something about Dr. Deepti Kapoor. So Dr. Deepti Kapoor was one of the founder members of Society for Alternatives to Animal Experiments India. And in the 2 years of time that I've known her, working with her, I would say that she was a firebrand of animal rights. And she was absolutely fiercely passionate about this cause. And her willingness to approach the even most committed proponents of animal testing with a warm heart and a kind smile is something that actually granted her access to even the most higher senior officials at any organization or a regulatory body or even a company. And in fact, she's even been instrumental for bringing about huge wins for the animals and science with her untiring efforts. Unfortunately, with her untimely demise, the animals, they've lost a champion. We have lost a dear friend, and there has been a void created in the alternatives movement, which would be difficult to fill up possibly. Having said that, the society, in order to honor her memory and acknowledge the contribution she's made towards the alternative movements, they've decided to institute an award in her name. So the name of the award is Dr. Deepti M. Kapoor Endowment Award. And it's basically to support an early career researcher that's working towards the field of alternatives or animal-free testing methods, or maybe a person who is also working towards bringing about policy reforms, regulatory changes, and social reforms to replace and reduce the use of animals in research and testing. The society has been able to successfully raise good amount of funds thanks to contributions received from Dr. Deepti's family, society members, friends, and well-wishers. And the award basically includes a good amount of cash prize along with the society taking care of the awardees' travel and accommodation to the society's conference. It's only open for Indian citizens up to the age of 45 years of age, and the awardee would be selected by a jury comprising of 3 members, 1 from society, 1 from PETA, and 1 international expert. And the first award would be given in 2022. So with that, I would really like to thank the society on behalf of PETA India to come up with this excellent initiative. And I think this would be the most beautiful and kind way of remembering Dr. Deepti and all her contribution towards this alternative field. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.